Recorded live at Talks and Tasting Studios, it's the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you what's behind the collar. Let's go.
Welcome to the Talks and Tasting Studios. It is the Clerical Errors Podcast. I am Bollhagen.
I'm Bollhagen.
And I'm Bollhagen.
Whoa. Bollhagen Inception. More than one Bollhagen, and also one of them is not the producer.
It's true.
So, Berg is on vacation, and I just got back from vacation. I've got a little time, and I don't want to miss a podcast, and I don't like just talking into a microphone for these things, so I needed someone to join me.
To talk to, so you're just not lonely by yourself.
Yes, I don't want to be lonely by myself. And so I have what we call, we have 2 and 4 with us today.
I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm. 2, say hi.
Hi.
You want me to use your name?
Grace. Yes, I'm okay.
And?
Hey, I'm number 4.
And your name is?
Jonah.
All right. So, a couple of, because we don't have the regular crew, I'm just having a little discussion. Mm-hmm. Because, as you know, the show, one of the themes of the show is what's behind the collar. And a couple of the things that people seem to appreciate is, I saw that smile, Jonah.
Nothing.
All right. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I was just laughing at Grace.
So one of the things we have been doing is we try to show what's behind the collar, what it's like, what pastors talk about, right? And some of the moments that people seem to appreciate is the one episode early on, which was helping pastors sleep, which are things you can do in a congregation to help a pastor rest easy at night. And then another was how to help a pastor's wife sleep. And so I thought I would bring today at least a couple of Are you reluctant a little bit?
It's fine.
Oh, yeah. I would feel the same.
We're here. It's voluntary. We weren't shoved into this room.
Which is probably the first thing we can talk about, okay? Because I want to talk about the experience of being a pastor's kid. Because I have an experience as well, but mine is way longer ago. And you two are fairly recent.
It's true. I'm yet 22 years old. It's such a small bab.
Right. And Jonah?
I'm 17. I'm still in high school.
So, yeah. So he is, fairly new to all this. It took a little urging. I think we have to bribe you with Chinese food to come and do this.
That was a different discussion.
It was a different conversation.
Okay. I'll start off with just a probably not a simple question, but what is it like being a pastor's child in this day and age?
That's a very vague question.
Vague question.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the good things about it?
Strong faith and stuff. When friends that I have are troubled and need help, then I have a good solid background of being able to help them and give them counsel as best as I can. It's given me a better opportunity to understand and empathize with people. That's probably one of my top main ones, I guess. Okay, how about you, Joe? I'm guessing this is not something you've actually given a lot of thought.
No, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to tell because it's been my whole life, so I don't know what it's like to not be a pastor's kid.
You don't have anything to
I don't have anything to base it off of.
Okay. All right. But you would consider it to have been a happy childhood.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't ups and downs that every kid has, but I don't think it's necessarily strange. So with that in mind, what are some of is there anything funny that comes along with being a pastor's kid?
Yeah. When I was in middle school, on the way to private school, there was a kid who was surprised that I knew the songs on the radio because he just assumed that I only listened to Christian music.
Mm-hmm. Which, that's all I listen to, right?
That's all he listens to.
Totally.
So much Mercy Me, so much Toby Mac, so much of those all the time. He doesn't listen to any 80s or 90s music.
Which is kind of your jam. You like the 80s. You're like your dad. Right?
Yeah, I do like them. Yeah, I mean, I like older music more than the modern, 2015 onwards. But
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How about you, Joe?
I don't know. There's some fun, there's some stuff. It's like, I don't know. The first thing that jumped to my mind was, what was the class with Walton, Grace?
U.S. No, not U.S. World Geology.
World Geography?
Geography.
Yeah.
Geology.
And in that class, whenever there was like anything, it's a religion came up a few times in that class, and every time that teacher knew the Bollhagen family and knew that we were all pastors' kids. So whenever there was something religious, anything, he would immediately ask for our opinion.
Yeah, he would ask us about a lot of Christianity and theology in class. Yeah, so we get that too. Something that used to annoy me that doesn't as much anymore is when people apologize for swearing in front of us.
You're the swear police.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, just because I don't know, I don't. But that doesn't mean that you have to apologize. Like, if you're guilty, then like that's kind of a you thing.
Right. So there's always a little bit of an awkwardness, you would say, of people not sure.
Right. People expect us to be like, I don't know. Basically, yeah, like the swear police, or like, don't say that in front of the pastor's kid.
Or like, it might even like monitor like certain discussions that we have because they don't want us to disagree and like bring down holy judgment on them. But
is that kind of one of the things you find the most annoying thing?
Most annoying?
Or is it kind of like
probably?
Do you find solace? Do you have like a camaraderie with other pastor kids? Not that you know that many.
Yeah, I don't know that many. I mean, we always got along pretty well with the Beisels, but yeah, I mean, I would say so. Like, at least it's like a good first step in a relation, like in
kind of like, that at least that awkwardness won't be there.
Right.
Right.
Which is kind of nice.
Right. There's some relatability in there.
Definitely.
So one thing that I think has always been good, the fact that you went to a Lutheran school which was not a part of the church where I'm a pastor, because I thought is it good for you to have experience with a pastor that's not your dad. Was that helpful for you? Pastor
Lorenz was great. Is great. He's still alive, probably.
Yep.
Sorry. Hey, Pastor Lorenz, I love you, and please be having a great retirement. But yeah, we had 2 catechism classes essentially, because we had catechism at school for class, and we also had catechism for church.
2 very different styles, I imagine.
Yeah.
But
Joe.
It taught the same thing.
Yeah, and also 2 very different styles, because I had Berg.
Oh yeah.
After Lorenz retired, and it was again 2 different very different styles, but it was also, the same thing. And it was really funny because I'd never had to I already knew most of the memory work for that kind of thing, because when you have 2 confirmation classes at the same time, it's yeah.
So you have any dirt on Berg?
I don't know about dirt. I think we mostly just it wasn't anything he did. It was all us annoying him.
I mean, and I didn't have Berg. I've been to his house before, and that was a nice time.
Yeah. By the way, I've often said, Grace, I want you to say, who is your favorite person on the podcast? Because I don't think it's your brother, and I don't think it's your father.
Probably Berg. You told me that it's not you or Peter. So which one am I supposed to be?
Hannah.
Oh, duh. Hannah. Hi. I'm so sorry that they don't email you ever, but it seems that you hold your own.
Actually, Hannah reminds me a lot of you because of your love for the language.
It's true. I am an English major. I've graduated, so.
Yeah. Anyways, we digress.
Yeah.
So is one thing kind of awkward is having knowing kind of more about your pastor than the average person? Does that make it weird sometimes?
I mean, there's definitely a rift between you as you utilize a lot of your skills for both being a dad and a pastor, but they're kind of two different modes and stuff that I kind of see or like feel because you're different at home than at church.
Because I let my hair down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like just kind of the irony sometimes of like if you could only know what he's like at home sometimes. Because people like tiptoe around you and they're like, oh, hi. And then like they're like shuffling their kids out the door, like, please don't embarrass me. And I'm like, we've been way more embarrassing and like.
So this is a good conversation because from what you know of your father as a pastor, right? Is there any reason why someone should be nervous of what the pastor's going to think about certain things, like when they come to talk to their pastor?
Absolutely not.
Not really, no.
Is there anything from what you know from your father? Is there anything that's going to shock me?
Nothing will
No.
shock you.
Right.
There's nothing you haven't seen.
Right. So there you go. And what would your advice be? Because a lot of people, they don't actually hear an honest opinion about what it's like to be a pastor's kid. And there are a lot of people who have a pastor with a family, and they want to make sure that things go smoothly for the pastor's kids, you know? So from your own experience, what are some things that can be done, do you think, that are helpful for you in being in a unique position as a pastor's kid? First of all, don't expect everyone for you to know everyone's name.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm so bad at names.
I'm really bad at names.
I'm really bad. Like, I'm so sorry for like how bad I am at names because like my parents will be talking about people that like I've known my entire life and I'm just like I cannot picture, and I feel really bad about it. But I would say more be yourself, I guess. Don't try to like hide behind this like
and let you be you.
yeah, don't hide behind this like holier than thou or just cut that out. But like don't have this persona of like trying to seem as if you're better like then I don't know. Like you want to be on your best behavior.
You
but
want people to be able to be real around you.
yeah, don't tiptoe around.
Yeah, we're people too. We're sinners too. You know, yeah.
Yeah. We weren't made to be the Christian police on your behavior. Like, at least ask me when's the last time that I've, like, harped on someone about their behavior, and I don't. Like.
Right, because that's the last, because I think one thing I've mentioned about being a pastor's wife, which also goes with being a pastor's kid, is the most important part is you're my child.
Yeah.
Right.
The pastor part really has nothing to do actually with you, in a sense that you didn't sign up for being a pastor. You're placed in that position, but you never signed up for it.
Right.
Right.
It's not a life decision you made.
Right.
Grace, particularly, do you remember living in a parsonage a little bit?
Not really. I have kind of vague memories, but not really. And it wouldn't be any different than a normal house. I was 3, 4, so not really. I remember going over sometimes to the church with red carpet. So, but no, I don't really like. And I guess living in a parsonage isn't like, I don't know, it's just a house that's close to a church.
Right. Well, I'm just wondering if you remember, because sometimes it might be an interesting situation when you live so close. Like you kind of feel like everyone's
That's true.
knows your house even, but
I was 4, so
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
Jonah
were-
wasn't born yet.
I wasn't born yet. Yeah.
So what do you have any favorite memories? So I guess let me get back to this once. We never really talked about this aspect of it a little bit more. I want to delve into it. So you said, Grace, just treat the pastor's children just like they're
Normal kids.
normal kids.
Yeah.
And do you find extra extra pressure to behave, or do you feel like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A little, yeah.
A little.
But
not in a bad way. Like, it's like,
I think that a lot of that, and I don't know if you would want to include this, but like with mom's like pressure as well of being a pastor's wife, she wants to like make sure that we as your family behave and look like be presentable and stuff because of like
Because what we do can reflect back on you.
yeah, like the Bible verse, like if a pastor like can't manage his own family, then how could he manage a congregation?
Right.
So I guess that is like a pressure, I guess. But like
I know it is. Like, there's pressure that if you guys kind of mess this thing up, like, your gravy train is gone, man.
our gravy train is gone. What is this old terminology that you are?
That means if you mess this up, man, I don't have a paycheck, and then you don't.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
if we misbehave one time, that means I don't get to go to McDonald's anymore.
That's sad.
Yeah. Like,
Tragic.
I am in charge of whether or not my father has a job.
Well,
That's a lot of pressure.
And how important is it that now I want to go to the other side?
Okay.
Okay, we've talked about from a pastor's child perspective from the congregation. The other thing I want to say is this: how about from the other side? How can a pastor make it easier on his children? And I don't mind if if you're a little critical with me, that's fine. You know, maybe it might be nice if you start off with the good things. You know,
I mean, you do a pretty good job. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you have a lot of, like, you're pretty understanding if we're, like, stressed out or anxious about something, and you don't, like, force us to do things, even if you highly encourage it, like me doing this podcast right now. But, like, I know, like, one specific thing is that I get a lot of social anxiety, and, like, so it's terrifying for me to think about singing in the choir up front in front of people. But you never like forced me to do that, or like, cause, it's highly like recommended by a few people that I should be in the choir because I can sing well. But you've never really forced me to do that, and I really appreciate that.
Which is interesting is when you were a little girl, you loved to sing in front of people.
It's true.
So, but which is fine, you know.
Yeah,
but
people change.
I've always tried to be sensitive to the fact that, you know, I don't want for there to be kind of what word am I thinking of, resentment towards being made to do things just because you're a pastor's kid. I mean, obviously, certain things you have to do, like, you know, go to church.
Right.
There's also the subject of Easter vigils.
Okay. Okay, I like this discussion.
Let's talk about this, because like that's one of the first things that came into my mind. Actually, was I remember one time specifically, you had people who were going to help that didn't end up showing up, and so you needed more people, and so the first thing you did is you called me in to help, even though I was older than the, you know,
because it's part of the confirmation age kids do it, and then
yeah,
Right.
like, there was at one point, yeah, like where you had people lined up and they didn't show, and so you had to call me in pretty last minute to just help because you needed me to have the service, you know, actually function.
Right. Yeah, I think all of us have had to like come in and do the service when we had a lack of people in general.
right.
Because I remember that I sang The Light of Christ for more than like for probably 2 years after confirmation.
And also, besides Easter Vigil, acolyting, you know, if
Well, that doesn't happen to you.
not anymore, but it used to happen more often, where like the acolyte doesn't show. Oh, can you go acolyte? Because we don't have anyone else to do it.
Right. But just doing like things that like need to be done that there really isn't anyone else.
You kind of how I kind of viewed some of that stuff is kind of like this. Like if I were a farmer,
right.
You'd have, there are certain times where you'd have to pitch in.
Right.
If there are various callings that whatever I might do, if I wasn't a pastor, there are times you just kind of have to fill in.
Yep. And like at least for Easter Vigil, we got pizza out of it. So
Yeah, it wasn't all bad.
It was just a lot of standing because we had to stand and hold candles for. At that point, it was still a really long service when I was younger.
It's still long.
It's still long, but it was longer than when it was now.
I've kind of trimmed the readings down a little bit.
So it was like at least 2 hours of standing and candle holding, and it hurt my feet, but...
None of us ever passed out, I don't think.
Nope, none of us passed out.
None of us ever came close.
So how about this? Can you think of times where maybe I took my work home with me, or maybe I'm kind of absent-minded because my mind's on church stuff? Or does how do you? This is just me out of curiosity. Okay, like if is there times where you're like like my mind's on, because I try not to take a lot of work home, but there's times where you can kind of know.
You usually like try to keep that, like if you do bring it home, that's usually just a conversation with mom in your room, and you kind of keep it out of the house as much, so you kind of more or less seclude yourself in your room so that you don't like get like, but it's harder for you because you technically don't have a home office.
Right. But I would say, so one thing you might find helpful is the fact that when it came to church stuff and church business, I tried to always make sure I just kind of keep you out of that. Let church be church for you.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, like we can tell, but like it wouldn't be different than like someone else's dad stressed about like numbers meeting about like for like an accountant father and worried about getting stuff done. But yeah.
And how important is then the time issue? At this point, it doesn't matter so much how much I'm home.
Right.
Right.
I mean, especially for Grace, maybe more for Jonah, because we make sure we clang and bang.
At the weights.
By the way, for our listeners, Jonah's going to be humbling me here pretty soon. He's been with me for about a year now. And he's young and I'm old, and it's starting to show.
Yep.
So anything else that you might bring up as in this conversation about what pastors can do for their own families that will make the transition easier? How about this? How important is authenticity? Meaning, if I were preaching something and then you say I'm different at home, how important is it to kind of be real at church and at home, if that makes sense?
So like including like home stories and sermons and stuff?
Well, that's one thing I've never really included you.
Yeah.
For don't do that, right?
Yeah, please, unless like you get consent, and even then there's a lot of like implications.
No, that's the thing. Simply getting consent, hey, can I use this as an example, puts you in a position of pressure.
Right. But yeah, because that's demonstrating a part of your life that it's kind of like if someone wrote a book about you and then like didn't ask you first and then published it, so people know like this intimate moment that you had in your life that
right. And if you ask for consent, then it's like, oh, I have this book written about you, can I release it? Almost.
Yeah, it's just not a. There's one thing I'll say is one pitfall that we pastors sometimes fall into is a tendency to think that our life is way more fascinating, that people want to hear it. And
wow.
They don't.
I mean, they do get to hear a lot of stories and stuff because they have a lot of like investment in a lot of people's lives.
So I have one more thing that I think is kind of funny about pastors' kids.
Okay.
You could tell me if I'm wrong or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, because like I'll come home and I'll ask, well, How was the sermon? Did you understand it? How was it? Do you find yourselves, when you are in other places, being a little more critical of pastors?
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
definitely. Don't want to name names, but there was one sermon when I went, I can't even name the
vacation.
city. Yeah, on vacation, but like, it put me in a really bad mood, actually, for a while because of
Yeah.
how bad it was. Because
it
just
wasn't-
theology was not great. Like, it was basically like, I remember one point of it was to stay away from television because it's not helping you prepare for the end times.
It was a lack of a gospel.
Yeah. But yeah, like, sorry, not sorry, vicar, but for all vicars, we're pretty critical of all of their sermons as well.
Yeah, that generally does seem to be
It's true.
the case.
Because like Jonah, you don't know what it's like to not be a vicar. True story. Your brother, number 3, when he was maybe 4 or 5, and you were like 1, you would do the little kid setup for church.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and
And he was a pastor, and then he made you be the vicar, and so you had to just like stand quietly wherever he was and look serious.
Yeah. I mean, I remember a time when there wasn't a vicar,
Okay.
but yeah.
I guess that's been a fun experience, giving you an interesting look at the pastoral life, because you've gotten to know so many vicars who have become pastors. I'm sure it's something where and you can talk about this a little bit too, how you have appreciated the journey that these families go through.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you've actually, the two of you, especially you, Grace, I know you've grown close to a lot of the vicar families.
yeah. Part of it, like, especially because they're moving around a lot and going to be placed at some point, that like, we're relatively lucky, I guess, in the fact that we've stayed here for so long and could make like good roots and stuff, and like not shift all around and have to get used to new people. But I can like tell how moving and like being farther away from family and that kind of thing has an impact on at least vicars families, because like just a lot of the conversations that I hear that vicar families have is about like surrounding their families and stuff, and how they're going to try to go visit them, or how they're visiting around and making sure that they're staying connected, because it can get hard, because distance always is hard.
Yeah.
But
Have you? I guess we need to probably wrap this up soon. 'Cause I
yeah,
told you
sorry,
we wouldn't do
it's
this
pretty long.
But do you find this in a way to be rewarding to be a part of a pastor and his family, in the sense that you see the good that it does, or am I just way overthinking it?
It does some, again, like I have a lot more insight in a lot of problems that my friends have, so I think it does do good. Because I have a wealth, I guess, of experience in kind of counsel, because my dad's been doing it his whole life. Well, not his whole life, but for his job. Not like I'm being a pastor or anything.
No, but
like,
because as a pastor, I deal with you in a pastoral way.
I guess. I mean, you can. Yeah. You deal with some conflicts at home.
Yeah. I just want to make sure people don't think that like I talk about what I talk with people, or
Oh, no, you don't talk about, you keep
Right.
that again, like if he's stressed about church stuff, he's in his room and thinking about it. He's not sharing anything.
right. But my point is, because you just the whole. That's why I'm trying to figure out where like you helping
Oh,
your friends.
sorry, yes. So if you want to cut that out, that's fine.
No,
But,
it's whatever.
yeah, just how, like,
You see me deal with people and talk
Right.
with people, and are
even
if
when
we
I
don't know
was,
the details, we see you help people, and
like, yeah, because I've been to, like, breakfast prayer stuff at
Prayer
Seven
breakfast,
Stars.
yeah.
Yeah, prayer and breakfast at stars, and I've been to nursing homes with you, and like especially when I was younger, I still kind of remember that when you would make visits to hospitals and things. And Jonah even had like a few people that at the nursing home that were he was friends with. Like I think there was an older lady who gave him like a stuffed dog. But like there've been more social events that I've been to, like weddings or nursing homes or funerals or so like Definitely. I've seen him in action without having I haven't gotten
You've gotten to observe.
Yes.
Observe. That makes sense. Well, hopefully has this been interesting for you?
Hopefully it's usable because I feel like I ramble a lot.
Rambling is good for podcasts.
Okay, sure. I was a little apprehensive about it, but it's gone fine.
To our listeners, if you are in need of someone with an English major...
Oh my gosh. I'm not going to plug myself. I'm working on it. I just recently graduated.
Where can they at you?
I'm not really on social media. If you want to email the Clerical Errors podcast, I'm sure that message will get to me somehow.
All right.
I'm not.
Did I make it awkward?
I'm not desperate though. I can. Yeah. If you want to offer, sure. Whatever.
All right. And any last words of wisdom, Joe?
I think I'm good.
The Lord be with you always.
Hey, Grace, maybe this podcast you'll actually listen to.
This one?
Maybe.
Yeah, because you were talking about the ones that you're like, how pastors sleep at night and how pastors' wives sleep at night. And like, I have totally seen those episodes.
Right. But you were in the car when I was listening to the one with Hannah.
That's true. I do know about Hannah. Hannah seems like a really awesome person and that you should appreciate her more.
Yeah, you get mad at me.
A little bit, but that was before I knew more about her. She's like awesome. Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our podcast today. Thank you for listening. I am Bollhagen.
I'm Bollhagen.
And I'm Bollhagen.
Signing off.
Signing off.
Sorry. Go ahead. Do your. Sorry.
All right.
No, do it again. Do it again. Sorry.
I'm Bollhagen.
I'm Bollhagen.
And I'm Bollhagen.
And may your children be...
Children.
All right.
Unless they're not.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Questions, thoughts, concerns? Find us on Facebook or Twitter, or email us at clericalerrorspodcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Clerical Errors Podcast. This podcast will always be ad-free. Any money we receive is invested back into the podcast, and the surplus donated to the Lutheran Heritage Foundation. You can also find links to things we talked about on our Patreon, Facebook, or Twitter. Thanks for listening to Clerical Errors.